Today, the majority of the world's population lives in an urban setting. Cities were meant to bring us closer, but our metropolises are suffocating from climate change. Upturned economies, perpetual loneliness. Concrete jungles are rising faster than we can make sense of them. We've designed for scale, but not for soul. So the question I'm asking is, can design bring us back to one another?
Should I describe each one first? In the script, it says, I'm a this. My name is Jenny Wu. I'm an architect, a jewelry designer, an educator, and a mom. I've been an architect for about 15 years. Based in Los Angeles, I founded the office with my partner, Dwayne Euler, who's also my husband. We've been doing kind of unusual types of architecture. I like to think they're research-based, experimental type architecture.
So, my latest passion project, a third place, that space between home and work, a place for community connection, for being human together. And this is important. Cities are getting denser, and people are drifting apart. Third places are disappearing. I believe that for a metropolis to flourish, third places have to be part of its DNA. Across my projects in Asia, one place has remained on my creative radar.
Modern skyscrapers, people are rushing.
So Singapore, I'm not sure how this happened, but I've never been there, which is surprising to me because I understand Singapore as being a global city full of innovation. It has incredible architecture, but also it's a very small, dense city. It's one that, what I know, has a lot of rules. That juxtaposition and how Singapore manages to become a global city, I think is pretty incredible.
And I want to see if Singapore, with all its bold urban thinking, is a city I can get inspired to bring a third place idea to life.
I've done many community-based public spaces in Los Angeles and in other parts of the world, but I think with each place, there's new criterias and new ways of activating space that's different. And so I really want to figure out, how can I get people engaged? Like, how do we pull people in? How do we create more intimate spaces? How do we, get people to come daytime, nighttime? I'm really excited to be going to Singapore. I've never been there, and I think it's really going to be a new experience, and also ready to learn a lot about it. Hey, boys.
Hey, you packing up?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Singapore.
What are you gonna do in Singapore?
Well, I am going to meet a lot of people and to look at some spaces so that I can design something for them.
Is it hot or cold?
It's really hot, I think.
I want to see if Singapore has succeeded so far in creating truly human spaces. And maybe I can add my own twist to it, to a third place, with a different perspective.
Hey, hi Jenny.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to Singapore.
Nice to be here.
Well, first things first, are you feeling hungry right now?
I can always eat.
Perfect, because in Singapore we eat all the time. I'm going to bring you to a hawker center to try some local food. Up for that?
Okay, sounds
All right,
good.
let's go. We are at one of my favorite places in Singapore. This is the hawker center, very synonymous with the food culture in Singapore. So this is a place, if you look around, that's where all Singaporeans, all walks of life, regardless of your food persuasions or your background, we gather here and we just enjoy food. It's a Singapore thing, yeah.
I really love that people gather here for food, but it seems like something else is at play. There's people just wandering and sitting, and is there a reason why people come here?
Where we are at, we're located right below a residential block, and like many hawker centers in Singapore, they are located very near where people live. So it serves a lot more than just a dining hall, but like a living room of sorts.
I was just thinking about like, how did this come about?
So, street food in Singapore did not start with just the hawker centers. It's, very ingrained in our history for a very long time. It's a means of living and survival for many people. Back in the day, the early immigrants came here. They would sell food and also purchase food from other street hawker stores. So this place that we're here is unique because this is the very first hawker center that's built since independence in a mixed-use development. But the story of this hawker center, goes before our independence. This whole area here is called People's Park. So this area started off as a park for the people in the late 1800s. So we are heading into the heart of Chinatown right ahead of us. I'm going to show you some interesting places that you may not associate with the Chinese culture. For many communities that came to Singapore in the early days, there were places of worship like this because they wanted to meet fellow countrymen to find out, where do I live? What jobs can I take? So this were a meeting place. So it served a function beyond the spiritual, bringing together people socially.
It feels like a very informal gathering space.
Definitely. As a heritage educator, this is one of my favorite places to bring people to. We're currently in the former Supreme Court, and together with the former City Hall, which is just next door, they've been combined into a brand new entity. It is known as the National Gallery Singapore, an art gallery.
Oh, amazing.
And when they converted the two buildings into one gallery, the architect put a canopy that you saw, and voila, a new atrium is born, and now people can access the gallery through that new atrium space.
Oh, I love that, through design and this design of a new canopy, a new public space came out of it. And I think that's such a new way of thinking about public space.
This is why I love what I do. When we talk about urban planning, we also decide what we can conserve in terms of our heritage. And with a little creativity, you can bring a space to life.
I really enjoy being on the ground and really understanding the fabric of the city. It was really nice to see how, spiritual places are next to eateries and parks are the same way. And that, these spaces are quite informal and that public spaces don't have to be a thing that you kind of delineate. And so I like the informality of that. I like that people can feel like they can, take a moment, go to a mosque, and then walk right out and have lunch. But at the same time, I wonder, how much was this planned?
After spending a couple of days here, I realized that Singapore's buildings aren't just tall. They're tasked with doing more, with whatever little space they have. It's a natural response to land scarcity, but perhaps also a reflection of how the city thinks: efficient, precise, and purposeful.
One of the most interesting part about visiting Singapore is how different it is from Los Angeles, right? It's such high density, it's not a sprawl. And while there's pockets of density in LA, it's nothing like this. And I'm just curious to know more about how you design for density.
1,000 Singapore's can house the whole world in 0.5% of the world's land area, which is just the size of Texas in America. That's really, like, it provokes an imagination of the kind of density.
I think the difference between Singapore as a city and other cities is that Singapore is also a nation. So besides taking care of the needs of the city, you also need to take care of the needs of the nation, like defense, spaces for growing food, and spaces for manufacturing, so that everything would be so self-sustainable. So there's a lot of things that go into this little island that we call Singapore, right? Yeah. So planning is not just at a two-dimensional zoning, it's really three-dimensional, really optimizing every inch of space that we use.
There is one example that always fascinates me, which is the Marina Barrage. So the Marina Barrage itself is an infrastructure to basically prevent water to go back to the sea. And then we can create that entire reservoir that can feed different water treatment plants and so on. It could have been done in a very infrastructure manner. We need that, we just respond to the needs, but actually it's beyond that. It's a way to connect also different parts of the city. It's a pedestrian and bicycle bridge where you can go, you can enjoy the fantastic view toward the city center.
Amazing.
You can see Garden by the Bay, you can see like the marina on the other side. So it's how can we transform a disadvantage into a need to become an advantage?
In the weekend, we go there, fly kites because it's a good wind, good space. But when the Marina Barrage was built, it's very conscious that that is also the activity that they want to retain. So they create that open space, the public space. So until now, people are still going there to fly kites. So I think that's on the roof of the garage. So that's really amazing that as architects, designer, I think really able to transform the city while at the same time continue the kind of recreation or behavior that people are enjoying.
After hearing about Marina Barrage, I dug a little deeper. Turns out, the whole area, Marina South, has been a work in progress for 4 decades. Planners are imagining a new community-focused neighborhood, and it's set to take shape by 2028. Right now, it's still a blank canvas. I have so many questions. How do you design for vibrancy? What does community even mean in a district that doesn't exist yet? I want to meet Eliza, one of the lead planners behind the vision.
I used to build cardboard cities with my sister. We stole our dad's cardboard. And so when we were building, we will always be imagining a better future, a better neighborhood. So I'm really quite grateful for the work that I get to do this. I've worked close to 25 years now at the URA.
You must love it.
Yes, I do. And I find our work deeply meaningful.
So tell me a little bit about what you do at URA.
Well, I work with a team of architects and planning executives, and we oversee the land use planning and urban design for the eastern part of the central area where Marina Bay and Marina South is located. 35 square kilometers in size. We don't have a hinterland. So I think it's important that we plan ahead and we plan, judiciously to make sure that we have enough land to meet, competing needs and aspirations, not just for this generation, but for the future generations.
So what are some of the processes? Like, how does URA plan a city?
Well, there are 2 key plans that helps to shape our planning process. There's a long-term plan and a master plan. So the long-term plan has a time horizon of 50 years and beyond.
50 years,
yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, we do have to look quite far ahead. 50 years, and it basically sets the foundation for systematic management of major land users and infrastructure. We are never planning in isolation. There's always, the context. So when we look at the plan, we knew there were certain, key pedestrian routes that we wanted to connect to, the gardens, the coasts, the transit nodes, the MRT station, the bus stops. So when we designed Marina Bay and Marina South, it was really with the community in mind.
What struck me the most is how the future Marina South is going to challenge the traditional idea of a central business district. Instead of a place that empties out after office hours, URA is designing for life beyond the 9 to 5. It's a vision that aligns beautifully with the spirit of third places. It is my first visit ever to the HDB heartlands. This is where the rhythm of daily life plays out, where people gather not because of architecture, but in spite of it. Far away from the spectacle, but perhaps closer to the soul of what a third place could be like.
Hi, Pebble.
Hi, Jenny.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome. Welcome to Bukit Panjang.
Oh.
So now we are here at the Senja Woods Neighborhood Park. Let me show you around.
Yeah.
Shall we go this way?
Yeah.
Actually, one very key planning principle that we adopt, and it's called the concept of the checkerboard. So like how we try to intersperse high-rise with low-rise developments so as to provide like a visual and a spatial relief. So here we are at the Senja Heights housing development. It's actually one of the newer housing developments completed in Bukit Panjang. So where we are is actually the common space in the development. So you can see the children's playground inspired by a treetop design. There's also the elderly and the adult fitness stations behind us.
So with these type of programming, do you typically have a standard kind of set for each estate, or do you customize?
So what you see here is essentially what you can find in most developments. And of course, we evolved along the way in terms of how we design it to better place them. And a lot of careful thought has been put into where we place them.
Yeah, I can tell that it seems like even though the programming is similar, there's design ideas and planning ideas about where you situate them, the architectural aesthetic, and how it might kind of complement the design of the buildings.
A lot of the design efforts and thinking or the urban design has been put in place from the onset, and we try to relate it to the site's history or even the heritage of the area. So Bukit Panjang actually means a long stretch of hills in Malay, mainly hilly terrain and undulating topography. The buildings actually step down and they step down towards the Senja Woods Neighborhood Park.
Right, it gives that layered effect when you're in the main space.
It's very important to also keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's for the people. It's for people like you and me who use the space. And when we see people enjoying the spaces that we design and plan, I think that is really a big fulfillment and a very meaningful kind of achievement that we get from doing this job.
Hi, Elmo. As a resident of this neighborhood, yes, what's your favorite place to fly? Oh, good job. So when I met you, you were at this space, and it seems to be a really wide open space.
Yes, correct, because I need the open space to train my parrots to free fly so that I can see them visibly.
How often do you do this?
Almost daily, depending on my schedule. If I'm free, then I will do it.
Yeah, I saw them flying. They're so beautiful.
Yes.
It looks like they're talking to each other, like they're very close.
They are quite bonded to each other.
In terms of where do you hang out in this neighborhood?
Usually I will be around here. Like if my birds spook off or they fly missing, usually they will go over the area there. So sometimes if they don't go there, I have to go and search around this area. Yeah, if not, sometimes there are times that the whole flock go back to my home because I always fly there. So they know their way home.
Ah, so even wherever you are, they might go home.
Yes, correct.
It seems like Singapore has enough open spaces for you to have.
Actually, Singapore open spaces are getting lesser and lesser with all the building development, all the projects. Yeah, so we can't find much of it except maybe at Bishan Park.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Bishan Park.
So these flats are all about I would say 35 years old now. So it used to be a concrete canal, you can see here, that ran alongside these blocks, for 3 kilometers. What we did was we tore down the concrete, used it to bed and form this natural meandering river. We wanted to create this natural river to change mindsets, people's relationship towards water. It's interesting now to see how the trees have grown. It used to be pretty bare when we grew it. And that's the thing about landscape design, right? It's not static, it's not architecture. The first day you build it, it looks the same. Here it evolves over time. So when we design this, we design for 10, 20 years down the road. You can start to perceive the outdoor rooms now that we do.
Well, it feels like there's a really active ecosystem happening here. I mean, this feels so natural.
Yeah.
So how much was this, all curated? And was there things that happened later that, it's been around for a while now that is a surprise to you in a good way?
I would say that how successful it is to see a bird flying past, people using it actively, and even though it has evolved in terms of the landscape, right, but it's evolved in a way that is adapted to the environment, which is actually what we have always hoped for.
That's such a powerful part of landscape architecture, is that so much of what you do takes time for it to happen, and that nature has a way of it taking over. I think that's really beautiful that you can come back to a park every time and actually something is different.
Yeah, I think that's one of the attractiveness of being a landscape architect, in that we are not designing not so much for the now, but we're designing also for the future. Landscape design is by definition evolving, right? Plants grow, adapt, and they look different through the years.
I mean, one of the things I've been thinking about in terms of my design here is how we can somehow feather that border between, the buildings to the landscape. How can we create more interaction between that?
Likewise, in Singapore, we need more interaction between nature and man. We need to create more spaces for us to coexist. So in our new design, we are looking to incorporate and draw in more of these nature corridors through the living areas, right? So that we can live closer to nature and in harmony with nature.
I love that. I think it's really helpful to talk to someone like Leonard. We design, these third spaces. How can we think about bringing nature and the energy and the people interacting with these spaces into our buildings? Well, I find Singapore, it's also a very global city, but it also has a very strong kind of local community. I mean, when I think about designing a third space, what are some of the things that you've seen that's been successful in just these little simple but effective ways of creating, a community space?
Actually, I think you really have to know the people. 3 families living in a 2-room flat, what they need is to have good community spaces. I see young people getting stuck trying to find their own space. So what do, they find the space in a device, in their phones, right? Singapore is in a good place where we can see a lot more of the ground-up inputs. You see bits of it coming up. You need to be brave to get in there and really ask, what's the problem? What's the issue, right?
Yeah, I think we all do that to some extent. Void deck. So if we keep calling them void deck, naturally it'd be void. Right? Can we call it social deck? So that was one of the projects we tried to rename it, rethink it, reimagine it. So we changed that kind of rules of the game and challenge that. So I like the idea that we need to be brave as design. We need to be courageous, the courage to create something that's innovative and yet still within the kind of social norm.
We also need to have people come in and put in those programs that will pull them into meaningful spaces as well.
And so to provide that kind of facility in a location that is unexpected is actually great for the youth.
I think I've got one, which is accidental. So in the Singapore University of Technology and Design, we were conducting research. And I think one space that became very popular was just a simple air-conditioned room. And we saw a lot of seniors going there because if you are living, in a typical flat all by yourself, you may not have the advantage of having air conditioning.
Right.
Yeah, so in the afternoon, they will be just sitting in this air-conditioned space. And if we could, use solar panels to power the air conditioning, that could be, where we sort of attract people and then start to have programs and music and all those things.
And it needs to be free.
Yeah.
Yes, that's really important. It needs to be free.
Hearing from all of them, it reminded me that my third place design needs spaces where people can sit, speak, and be heard. Not because they belong, but because they don't have to. When I first heard about Stranger Conversations, I was struck by its simplicity. Just chairs, signs, and people.
This is a third place. It's not your home, it's not your workplace. It's a place where you can play with different versions of yourself. So you can try on a different role. You see, right, at that time, I was pretty interested to find people who had done something a little bit unconventional, a little bit different with their lives, right? And I couldn't quite find people within my circles, and that's why I had to go look for strangers. And these were like very simple fireside chats. At first it was online because of COVID, but eventually we did them in the park because we didn't have a space of our own on these gigantic picnic mats, right? I remember one of these sessions in the evening at the Empress Lawn out there in front of Victoria Concert Hall, and we had about 25 or 30 of us just gathered there listening. And although the sharing ended at about 8, people stayed back till like past 11. This space, this community has come so far only because it's been built by people who are doing things for the first time. And one example is like Karina.
Me.
So tell me about how you got involved.
I've just been like a stay-home mom. I've just been painting at home by myself, sort of teaching myself. For the very first time, like I kind of like step out, do it in a community with other people. I put my process and myself on show. I become like a resident in this space. Yeah. So I mean, we talk about strangers, we talk about being a community. Some of us try to make this like a home for where we kind of try things out for the first time and build a practice moving forward from there.
So tell me a little bit about, well, how do you get people to join you?
So I remember when Karina came to me with her proposal to be a resident.
Have you had a resident before?
She's the first resident.
Ah, okay.
And I could see that she was a little nervous and she had prepared, to like, all the bullet points, were sort of figured out. And we were just like sitting on the floor right here. And within the first like 5 minutes or so, I told her, yes, let's just figure out the details later. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, we're kind of conditioned to be prepared. Like, you show up for an interview or you want something, you want to meet someone for the first time, make an impression, be prepared. But since coming here, a lot of that I let go and you just kind of let that influence you. But then, yeah, you just kind of learn how to kind of open up.
Strangers that walk in, their points of view, their perspectives, their life experiences, when they get curious about what you are doing, so that kind of influence how you craft your journey as well.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. I feel like we can all use more human connections, right?
Yeah.
And, so many of us are stuck on our phones and we actually don't talk to each other. And I think all of this is so great. Really appreciative that you made this space for people to do that, strangers to do that. I think that so far, in my experience, I've talked to a lot of people and about how they engage public space. I'm hoping that, when I look around town, there's so many interesting design ideas that I'm seeing, and I would like to see more of it, even if it's a housing project. I think we can learn a lot from you know, all the different architectural projects in the city, and I like to see more of it.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi. So tell me about this project. It's really amazing.
So this is part of a competition project. So global competition, 200 over entries, and they selected 5 like anonymously. So we were a very young team, and we put in submission. We were selected.
We were tiny. We were an office of 5.
This project was selected, I think, because it's simple in the way we solve such a massive problem: high density, urban, environmental issues.
So give me some facts. Tell me about this project.
Well, we have 1,848 units here.
Wow.
7 blocks. It's sitting on land size of 2.5 hectares. So it's super high dense. And that's why we need to go up to 50. 50 stories.
And if you took this number on a per square kilometer basis, we are hitting like 300 over 1,000 per square kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah, and what that means is, if we were to build every project in Singapore like this, we could just build on top of the MRT line, and that would be enough to house the whole nation, like 1 million units, you know?
I think it's about being totally unashamed of the mass, right? So one of the things that we started off thinking is, it is big. You can't run away from that. So how else can you break it up, right? So that's when we got inspired by the matrix image, waterfall, pixels, you know.
Yeah.
So that was then.
We call this project Sky Houses Flying Green. So
Oh, I love that name.
Yeah, so it's all about, you know, different imagination of gardens in the sky and in different places. Like, for example, on the ground, when we made these architectural piers and we lifted trees on top of these piers, it feels like a new kind of nature.
Right.
Yeah, but you still feel the shade, the quiet, and the biophilic effects of the trees. But one very interesting thing is also scale. When you're walking on the third story, which is an elevated park, the trees provide a human scale and a protection from the towers.
Right.
So when the towers land, they land in sort of a canopy of forest, and that softens the entire experience, you know, and that was super important for us as well. One thing that really amazed me or surprised me was that at first we thought this would be super high intensity, very busy. But you know what we found was that we've created quite a lot of very peaceful spaces. You know, and I think that this is so important that just a lift ride away, you can come into a very open space, close to nature, you're so close to the clouds, you know. And I think that's just so important for well-being.
So like a public space like this, you know, some that are successful is full of life and people are using it in different ways. Tell me a little bit about how, after this building was built, what was the reception like?
If you come during the weekends, you'll find the third story, which is completely public, very, very active. And then you have the childcare, you have the playground.
You can bring your dogs
You can bring your dogs
bring
there.
food.
And whereas up here there's lots of rules around it. So I think at some point in time, we, as a city, we need to really trust also that the users will take care of the space and have a lot more options and freedom in the way they use them as well.
I thought that there were so many really smart moments in the project. You know, obviously there is the bridge, right? The 2 bridges that allows for the shared amenities at height. I think that is something, a good takeaway that I like to think about for my project.
In my early readings about Singapore, one word kept surfacing: kampong. At first, I thought it simply meant village. But the more I dug, the more I began to realize that it's something deeper. A kind of collective memory, a way of living together that prioritizes connections and care. I found myself asking, what does a modern kampong actually look like in a dense vertical city like Singapore? That's when I came across Kampong Admiralty.
So Kampong Admiralty actually is a government project. It's 7 government agencies working together to co-locate their facilities inside this building.
And tell me a little bit about the design concept.
Our design concept is like a club sandwich. Because there are many facilities, we wanted to layer them vertically. There are 3 layers. We are now at the first layer, which is a very public space, the plaza, which is activated by a hawker center at the 2nd floor and all the shops surrounding the plaza space. So this is the middle layer in the club sandwich concept. The middle layer actually is a very large footprint medical center. So we put it in the middle so that it actually is like a shelter or roof over the plaza space. On top of this is the upper layer, which actually is a landscape sky terrace where the childcare and the elder care center is.
You know, when I think about Singapore, I think about this high-density living.
Yeah.
And the third space seems so important to have in any community. So that's something I've been thinking about what to incorporate in my own design project. And I like that there's moments where you can have quiet spaces and also communal moments like the downstairs. So I think that's something that I'm going to think about as I work on my project.
Yeah, fully agree. I think in Singapore, where we have high rise, and high density, it's so important to actually balance it with amenities. So in all our projects, we try to see what we can contribute to the community.
Personally, how do you find this concept?
I think it's really amazing. I feel like I love how there's this quiet moment. I love the greens in the building.
Yes. The other interesting difference is that since we are very multi-racial, multicultural, so the plaza is kept quite alive the whole year round.
Oh, yeah.
You have Chinese New Year, you have Easter, then of course you have the Muslim Ramadan, then followed by the Hindu Deepavali and so on. I think if you've been to some of the older high-rise, you come down and straight you are into your own corridor in shop houses. Whereas here, the concept is a little different. We got a huge plaza down below. 2018, they won an award, the best.
Yeah.
The best high-rise retiree settlement.
So which one is your unit?
This.
Oh, are the hanging plants yours?
Yeah, all this is done by me.
Yes.
These are all mine. I hung them up.
But I can tell that you really, you love being here because you make the green space your own.
Yes. I always look forward to come to my garden and see the plants. Yeah.
Yes.
It's something different. That's why I was attracted to this place because of the greenery.
So it was really fun to meet a resident and someone who was excited to talk to me. And what I felt from him was he was really proud. I mean, he was listing all the kind of awards that the building has won. And so I really like that. I feel like this helps ownership of the space that, he was hanging up his own plants and trying to make the place his own. There's got to be moments where people personalize it. And I think there's room for that in design.
Morning, Jenny. Welcome to sunny island, Singapore. Yes.
It is sunny.
Yes, it is really sunny. So right here is our magnificent national stadium.
It's amazing.
So, I say it's perfect because perfect sight, you get a sense of our city, beautiful skyline, waterfront, the whole sights and sounds and bustle of everyday life of Singapore. The success of Singapore Sports Hub, it's really the in-between space. This idea of a promenade, it really epitomizes the concept of a third place that helps to not just work as a crowd management space during major events, but during non-events, this is what you get.
When I think about this typology of it's like an ultra mixed use, you're including sports, entertainment, leisure, shopping, and I feel like that's very unique to Singapore.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. In fact, absolutely right. This, in terms of urban renewal, even urban regeneration, is about turning single-use site to more mixed use. I think comes with mixed use is not just the widening of the repertoire of, say, facilities, offerings. You get the mix of community, and with that, the associated public realm also becomes a lot more diverse and rich.
I'm designing a pavilion and thinking about bringing sports within, the space to just actually have an activity that's not just about shopping or something else, but sports.
Sports, I would say, arguably is probably one of the most powerful human-based interactions. It unites people through shared passion, interests, even strangers. And so I think even at the scale of a pavilion, I think in incorporating a component like sports, I think that's wonderful. And what is exciting is when we are able architecturally to push it, this idea of this visual dialogues of spaces, you encourage participation.
I think it's really nice that it feels like there's a lot of feedback between what you guys do and how it seems like the government is responding and being able to sort of seeing that this type of hyper mixed use is working.
Part of our imagination is spurred by this, I call it hyper-pragmatism and long-term vision of what life would be, with the goal of how do we better lives, how do we better connect communities. Our city is the best testament of how success could look like, not so much just on the economic sense, but this whole idea on the social, the environmental dimension, that it could be a whole thriving landscape.
What do you do to activate it? What do you do around the spaces? And I think this idea of I call it like a hyper mixed use, I think is very interesting. It becomes a hub that people come to. Yeah, I think that, a place like this with the National Stadium, a major sports hub, all the entertainment, it's easy to draw people here. And I think, what I like about working in the heartland is that, it needs to be stitched into the community fabric. It needs to feel like this is something you can just go to and it's not a destination, it's already there. And so I like that aspect of it, and I like the fact that we can think about, how to bring in some of this programming into the spaces. I think those are ideas that I'm working on right now. So I want to thank you guys for having this really amazing conversation, and I feel like I really learned so much about, Singapore in such a short period.
And I think you also draw out from us, what we feel about this space, like having just this time together.
To pause and to think.
To reflect.
I think it's a great opportunity.
There is, I have to admit, a lot to think about, and I do feel like there's, the pressures of, really understand all the different sides and then trying to also find my own take on this. So this is something I'm going to think about as I work on my design.
All the best.
The first week in Singapore has been a really eye-opening experience. For me, not have been to Singapore before and to come here and learn about Singapore through the eyes of experts has been quite rewarding. People always have that nostalgia about playing outside with the kids and the coldness that comes with skyscrapers. And I think that there is something in between, and I'm trying to figure out how do I get people to be in a space. really realizing how difficult it is to design a really great public space. I think it's not just about how good it looks, but it's how people are going to engage it. And how do I get the community to want to be in the space, get kids involved? So I think that will be the challenge that I have. Because I think the setup is there, and now can we elevate it? So after being away for 2 weeks, it was definitely difficult to come back to my normal life. So we're starting a new project in Singapore. The site is super interesting. My idea was to really re-envision this pavilion.
If you go there and you really want to sit in an intimate corner, it doesn't do that very well.
You never quite hear the voice of the residents.
I'm Singaporean and I live here and I've lived here my entire life. And I feel like it is so important to have spaces like this.
Since I've been back, I've been working on a second design. It shouldn't be a kind of cookie cutter solution.
Somehow in bringing the right people together, as long as they have the right spirit and intention, they will find a way.
You hope that people like it and you hope that they see what you see, but a lot of times they might not. I feel like the reveals, it's a lot of pressure.